Thanks for staying with us here on The Real Story. There's a new push to provide more long-term money for public higher education in Connecticut. This week, students and faculty from publicly funded state colleges and universities spoke at the Capitol to voice their concerns. Joining me now is one of those students and a faculty member, B. Ferrer-Guarin and Colena Sesanker. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to start with B, and then Colena, if you'd like to add in as well. Tell me a little bit about this event this past week and the petition you brought to the governor's office. What was this all about?
Yeah, so this has been a project we've been working on for the semester, but it culminated recently when we went to the Capitol in order to speak. We gathered, I believe, roughly around 50 students and a bunch of faculty to demand that Governor Lamont fund us adequately, make sure he understands the importance of keeping us funded. And yeah, this was a joint effort that a lot of people put work into, and we were really proud of what we were able to do.
And B, how did it feel to be there speaking at the Capitol, surrounded by your fellow peers, and to deliver this petition to the governor's office?
It felt great. It was definitely a little nerve-wracking. It was one of the first times I had done something like that, but it felt good. It felt good to see the amount of people who actually had turnout. Was something I spoke about with a lot of my peers. Turnout was great, and we were really happy to see the amount of people who were supporting us. And we hope that we sent a message that this is something we really care about and that we really want for the state.
Yeah. And Colena, this has been an issue for multiple sessions. In 2023, we saw hundreds of specifically UConn students rallying at the state capitol calling for more funding from the governor and the state legislature. 2 years later, higher education still hasn't received the investment schools say they desperately need. As a faculty member, what are you seeing? Can you share with us some of the impacts of this lack of funding?
Well, absolutely. I mean, our staffing is significantly down in every category. And what that means is that tutoring is less available, career services, the library, et cetera, all the support services that allow students to get from beginning to success. Our public institutions serve so many first-generation students, Black and brown students, working students, returning students, students who have a lot of challenges, who need that support. And who, are being afforded an opportunity that they wouldn't get elsewhere. So it's really important to maintain that. And while I talk about support services, the core of the college is the academic component. And, we need more faculty. We need so many more things. So it is absolutely affecting our students. And this has been going on for many, many years. Funding for public institutions has decreased significantly since 2008 nationally and significantly in the state also.
And B, can you share with us how this has affected you as a student?
Yeah, I've seen many of the same issues. I've noticed that our libraries are less staffed. It's a little more difficult to navigate. The amount of printers that we have availability to are extremely limited. Our wellness center is also limited with the lack of funding, and especially coming into these final weeks and months, going into finals, which is a really vital time and a really dangerous time for mental health for students.
Right.
Not having that funding can be very detrimental. And I'm also just afraid of what the lack of funding can mean for our centers of minority students, like our Latin and Caribbean Center. How are we going to address the federal government? And if they cut funding as well for DEI programs, that could potentially affect them. The LGBTQ Center, these are all things that I noticed, and these are all things that I'm fearing for the future.
Right. And Governor Lamont unveiled his 2-year budget plan back in February this year. It spends about $27 billion next fiscal year, with just over $28 billion the second. Pandemic-era federal dollars that now are gone, though. The hardest hit by that new gap is education. Higher ed is technically getting more dollars from state grants, but with fewer and, at this point, really no federal funds. A lot of students and faculty I've heard from are saying this still makes it feel like a budget cut. Colena, is that what you're hearing from fellow faculty and school management as well?
Yeah, and it doesn't just feel like a budget cut. It is, in fact, a budget cut. As far as our block grant is concerned, there may be a small increase, but as far as the money that has come to us in the past several years, the problem has been it has always had to come through the legislature at the last moment in the form of one-time funds. We've been floating on one-time funds, significant one-time funds for a very long time, and that inhibits, and we've had to hoard them. It inhibits the way that we can use that funding. And lately we see, last year we needed it so badly. The legislature did step in, did give us some money, but we've had to hold on to it because we know we're going to have to spend some of that funding down over the next biennium because we know that we're not able to get more funding. One of the things that, holding on to this, it's not just that it is unlikely or it is possible that the funding will be withheld. As long as the fiscal guardrails are in place, the budget cannot accommodate us.
Right.
In a few years. So if we spend down our reserves, we've got a plan in place for the next couple of years to use those reserves, but that's one-time money also. It'll be gone. And then we have a serious issue where it seems as if the state budget simply cannot keep up with the demands of the state and specifically us also.
Right, and when it comes to those fiscal guardrails, we know adjusting them has been a conversation at least for the past 3 sessions and the past 2 budget sessions. The governor had previously been pretty staunch in, not wanting to adjust those at all. But this year, this budget session, he left it a little bit more up in the air, and we're now hearing many more lawmakers joining the call, asking to adjust, to tweak, to move those fiscal guardrails a little bit. Obviously, as you were saying, you're asking for more stable funding, so you're not relying on, one-time emergency supplemental funding. But can you share with us, have you heard at all about any sort of number? Is there a specific amount that you want to see in the state legislature's final budget this year?
I can talk only about the CSCU budget.
Right.
And this is not necessarily the system's official ask. But I know that what looks like the right amount might be something like $670 million for our system in each year. Right. And that takes into consideration a lot of, increasing access at the CSUs, et cetera. Yeah. But yes, I love that part of the conversation has been adjusting the guardrails, but I really hope that it isn't simply in response to the chaos at the federal level and also takes into account the fact that we're feeling harm from the state of our own budget over years right now. Right. And just like in the COVID days, it is working people, it is the families that send their students to us who will be most affected, and the federal cuts will simply exacerbate those effects. So, the core is that we need to be adjusting our budget to reflect taking care of the next generation of us, right? And working people and equalizing this state. And we are one of the most unequal. We have some of the largest achievement gaps. And, higher education is one of the most effective ways of addressing those kinds of gaps. So we hope that the governor will pay attention to that part.
And B, with that, you spoke on it a little bit previously, but we know we are seeing federal cuts, and it's something state lawmakers have said they know they may need to backfill in the state budget this session. But, for you as a student who are currently seeing this, as you mentioned, some of those either DEI or minority groups and programs impacted at schools, are you more concerned this year with that added federal chaos?
Yeah, I'm absolutely worried about at the federal level and at the state level. I'm afraid of what it could mean for the future. I started school in 2015, and it wasn't perfect then, but it felt a lot more secure than it does now. And I was lucky enough to be able to come back a few years ago. I took a break, and CCSU provided me with so much. It provided me with a space where I could be safe and be myself. Yeah. I was able to make community here, and this is a bit of what I talked about at the rally. I was able to make community here. I was able to learn so much, and the idea of that being at risk because of a lack of funding is very scary to me. My professors and the mentors that I've met here have been an inspiration for me to want to pursue an academic field and hopefully become a professor one day myself. Because I want to be there to help future students. Yeah. And I can only imagine what it'll be like in the future if we don't have the funding and we don't have the support at the state level or the federal level.
How important was it for you, B, to have those opportunities that you received at CCSU?
Oh, it was everything. I had to take a few years off because I was dealing with some personal issues. And CCSU gave me the space. CCSU was very understanding and gave me the space away. And when I came back, I was able to speak to administration and resume my degree pretty easily. And then from there, I thrived. I met so many professors that have helped me directly with applications or with job hunting. I've met peers who have also pushed me to do better. The higher education system is more than just education.
Right.
It's community building. And you gain so many opportunities, like so many opportunities just through the people you meet and the opportunities you gain when you enter into these systems. And that's why I believe it should be, one, accessible to everybody, and it should be adequately funded for everybody.
Yeah. In our last 2 minutes here, Colena, if the state doesn't fill this funding gap and sort of, as you're asking for, set this priority of establishing stable funding, what do you think will happen at our colleges and universities?
So it seems that we will be able to potentially step in with some reserves, but we'll still need the help of the state. But what we have to understand is once those reserves are gone, they are gone. And when they are gone, the effects will be catastrophic. We have just failed to adequately budget for the needs of our higher ed system in the past many years. And if something isn't done to the budget, the state budget on the whole, generally, we're in trouble. And, you know, our students need the higher ed support, but they need so many other state services also. So, you know, we're looking to really, you know, have a solution for the future of our state. And I'll say also, you know, 96% of our students come from Connecticut, and 80% of them stay in Connecticut. There are workforce, there are personal benefits to this higher education system, but there are amazing benefits to the state also.
Right. Colena B., thank you so much for sharing your insight. We'll be following this, of course, as budget negotiations continue this session. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
That does it for us now here on The Real Story. But if you want to watch these segments again, you can head to fox61.com or download the free Fox 61 News app and watch The Real Story every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on Fox 61 and streaming on Fox 61 Plus. Have a great morning.